Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or possibly good evening, depending upon where you're listening today. This is the Game On virtual event, and we are going to go through building a Windows 8 game using GameMaker in today's session. So the first thing I want to do is thank you for being here, for taking the time out of your Saturday to sit down and listen to us teach you how to build some games using GameMaker. So let's go ahead and get started and kind of first cover some dates that we want to be aware of. Now, very important dates today, obviously, is one of them. It's the kickoff session. And the sessions that we're going to cover, it'll be from about 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. today, and that's West Coast, LA, PST of the U.S. time, the 10 to 2 today. But one of the important things about today is it doesn't end today. So besides just having the sessions today and helping you in QA along the way, we're also going to have virtual support from the 15th to the 21st. And what that means is as you're building your game, we're here to help you. So you'll find everything about virtual support on the site, on the resource pages. The resource page is where you signed up, where you registered for this. You'll find a resource page with a lot of stuff that we're going to share with you today, but the virtual support will be there as well. And then the last date that I want you to keep in mind, I want you to keep it in front of your mind, is June 30th. We got some cool things happening, and these are the deadlines for them. We'll cover what those contests are a little bit later, but make sure you keep June 30th in your head. So today's agenda. So the first session is obviously what you're listening to right now, and that session is, part welcome. Thanks for coming. Here's the agenda type stuff. But I'm also in this session going to show you around the GameMaker IDE. With any new development tool, it always helps to have a comfort level of the development environment itself. Where do I find this? How do I import this? Where are these folders located? How do I create this? And we're going to walk you through that so you begin with a comfort level of how to use the GameMaker IDE. After that, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to dive right into building a platformer game. Now, in that session, we're going to talk about the different types of games there are. Now, it's not an all-inclusive list of the types of games that can be done, but we're going to give you some basic examples of different types of games, platformer being one of them. So as you think about the game you can build, it's thought of in the realm of the type of game it is. And so we'll cover those, and then we'll start building a basic platformer game so you can see how things work together and how events work, put the basics together of a game. Now, in that session and in the last session, what we're going to be utilizing in GameMaker is their great drag and drop functionality. One of the great things about GameMaker is you don't need to be a developer right now to create a game. You can create a game if you've never developed anything in your life. They have the capability to walk you through those steps in this really fantastic drag and drop interface. But on the other side of it, they have a GameMaker language, GML, that they call it. It's a script-based language that allows you to do some really cool stuff without drag and drop or in addition to drag and drop. And that's one of the things we're going to be showing you in the next session, which is the adding Windows 8 features to your game. That's all going to be in GML language. And so this is for not just the beginner developers, but maybe if you've been doing GameMaker for a long time and you want to know how to incorporate the Windows 8 features into your game, or quite honestly, what to incorporate. We're going to cover that in that session, not only the things that make Windows 8 unique, but what you have to implement to get it into your game. After that, we have Brett doing a fantastic session on assets. Now, I personally feel really strongly about teaching game developers how to create their own assets, because you don't have to be the best artist in the world. If you create unique characters and unique blocks and unique backgrounds for your game, it's automatically going to give it that newness, that freshness, that, quite honestly, that you feel to it. And so Brett is going to walk you through in the amount he can in an hour and a half or so, how to create your own assets using a free program called Inkscape. He's also going to touch on how to create your own sounds using Audacity, and in addition, show you where you can find assets that other people have created. So that's a really fantastic session that I'm hoping you're looking forward to. After that, after he shows you how to create those assets, what I'm going to do is we're going to bring back that basic platformer game that we created in the session before, and we're going to bring the assets that he created into the game so you can see how it goes from just a basic construct to really kind of popping and showing your vision when you put those things together. After that session, we're going to start to hit on how to make money. Now, making games is fun, but you want to make money too. So we're going to show you how to add, for a Windows 8 game, how to add the advertising to your game so you can see how it's done. And then finally, in the wrap-up and resources, this is going to be more than just a here's links to follow, see you later, enjoy. We have a ton of resources to help you along the way. If this is your first game, you don't have to start from scratch. We have some great tutorials to show you. We have some great starter kits to show you, and we have some sample applications that show you some very unique features that you will want to work with. And so that's going to be the wrap-up and resources one. So I've been a teacher for a long time, and one of the things I always do, no matter what I'm teaching, is I always like to understand or answer the why. Why am I showing you this? Why do I need to know this? And this session or this day is no different. And I think it's always important to start with the why, and then the what is easy. This is how you do it, but this is why you're doing it. So the first thing, gaming is easy. That's easy to answer that. The first thing and the most important thing, I think, is just fun, just having fun. Now, I'm probably showing my age a little bit here with the games that I grew up with, the Jungle Hunt and obviously Donkey Kong, which everyone's aware of. You may or may not have seen Zaxxon before. Or even track and field. And track and field on machine was great because you could play it with a pencil under your finger and make it go even faster and just kill everyone in track and field. But gaming is not only fun to play, right? It's fun to build. It's almost, and I will say almost as much fun to build a game as it is to play a game. So as part of this short time frame that we're going to be working on here, and talking about today, have fun building it. And the best way to really get engaged with building a game is to build one that you enjoy playing. So, think about, as we start talking about in the next session, the different types. Think of the games you've played in the past and which ones you've enjoyed most playing, and start with that one. So first and foremost, it's all about fun. Secondly, it's about making money. So I think I'd be amiss to not discuss money in the gaming industry or building games. Now, it's the industry itself, or at least the mobile entertainment industry, which gaming is a part of, is a $33 billion industry, just a huge industry, and it's expected to grow by 2015 to $54 billion. Now, this isn't a talk about the industry and the money made, but we're not even going to touch on different ways to monetize the amount of money that's in advertising for your game, or how in-app purchases is really growing into a $4 billion industry all by itself. But I really want to make sure that you understand that there's a huge opportunity out there for you. And specifically, there's a great opportunity on Windows Store itself. Now, if we look at the opportunity itself, right now there's 690 million Windows 7 laptops, desktops, etc. out there. And if we look at the current licenses for Windows 8, there's over 100 million of those already, which has the same run rate so far as Windows 7. And what that means to you as a developer is the fact that we're at this great cross-section of a huge marketplace, but not an overcrowded marketplace. And that is the heartbeat of where money is made. Now you can see, I'm not the only one to think this. As you see flashing on the screen, different magazines and writers, it's something that they've been talking about for a while. And I've done this part of a talk before, and it's actually a much bigger talk on monetization. But one of the things that I always like to do is give you a story of someone real. Someone says, yeah, I know the big game makers are making money. And yes, it's a $4 billion industry or $33 billion industry, but all the big guys are making that. And so I'd like to introduce you to someone. And his name is Kevin. And Kevin is, actually, he is smiling in this picture. That's just how he smiles. And the reason I want to introduce you to Kevin is because he's someone that's on my team, just a regular guy that built a game for the Windows 8 store. And I think it really hits home. The reason he's smiling is because so far his game, I think he has over $130,000 that he's made on this so far. And at one point he was making about $32,000 a month on his game. Now the reason is because he's at that great point. He's got a good game that people like to play, that's in the marketplace at the right time before the marketplace isn't too crowded. So make sure not only you have fun right now with what we're talking about and what we're doing, but make sure you take advantage of this really interesting, this really cool opportunity to build a game for Windows 8 and, maybe make some good money on the side doing it. So that being said, I told you earlier that I wanted you to keep in mind June 30th. So June 30th is a specific date because we have a really great contest going on right now as part of this, or I should say in conjunction with this. And the contest is something Yo-Yo Games themselves, who is the creator of GameMaker, is putting on. And they're giving away $35,000 in cash prizes, including a $10,000 first prize. Now, that's not just for current games that maybe could port over to Windows 8, but there's also a prize for a brand new game that's never been on any platform that's entered into this contest. Now, you can go to yoyogames.com and get all the information for this, all the rules, everything else. But remember that date I told you about, June 30th. Make sure you keep that in mind, because your first iteration of your game needs to be submitted and part of the Windows 8 Marketplace by June 30th for this contest. Now, the great thing is on that resource page that I told you about, if you've never built a game before and you have no idea how long things are going to take, on the resources page you'll find a document that gives you a rough outline of how much time you should spend on each portion of this game to be able to make it in the store by June 30th. Now, once it's in there on June 30th, you can do updates to it to change things slightly, but this will give you a nice framework to go by so you know how much time to spend on each part of your game to get it in there in time. So I hope you enjoy that. It's really cool that Yo-Yo Games is offering that, and I want you, the people listening today, to be a part of that. So enjoy. Now, the next thing I want to do, like I said at the beginning, is show you the GameMaker IDE. I think it's really important to get comfortable with the IDE itself so that you can jump right into development and you're not fiddling for a long time on different stuff. So let me pop open GameMaker and I'll show you the GameMaker IDE. Okay, popping open GameMaker, we can look at what the initial screen looks like. And I'm going to walk you through this because there's actually, may seem simple, there's a couple important things that I want to point out here. Obviously, on the welcome screen, it gives me all the recent games I've been playing with. If I want to open a game, obviously I can dive right down to it. I can start a new game and a new project by creating it here. And this is the one I want to point out to you. So a lot of times when you get sample games or someone sends you a game, what they're doing is they're not sending you a zip file of all their files. They will be sending you a GMZ file. And to open that, you would have to go to import and navigate to that. In addition, this is how you can import older GameMaker games as well into GameMaker Studio. So remember that, because that's something that sometimes it takes people a moment to figure out. We have release notes, we have demos, and demos, there's two tabs here I want to talk about. There's demos and tutorials. So they're similar but different. So tutorials, when you work on a tutorial, it will walk you through step by step creating this game. And you can see there's, my first game, D&D tutorial, scrolling shooters. Let's see what else we got in here. Asteroids or physics tutorial, I should say. So if you're looking to understand something, I would walk through one of these tutorials. As a matter of fact, in addition to the other tutorials that we're going to give you and the different starter kits that we're going to be giving you, if you're brand new to this, never touched it, just downloaded it because you heard we were giving a talk on it, my advice would be to go through this tutorial first. It gets you used to the IDE. And then I would go through this tutorial right here, which is the scrolling shooters tutorial, where you build a 1945 game. And what it does is it gives you a lot of the extras that you're going to be playing with. You could do this in half a day, build both of those going through the tutorial, and really have a big structure of knowledge that you can then use to build your game. And then go with the tutorials and the starter kits I'm going to show you later. You can then take those and just run with them. So the difference between these two tabs, the tutorials walk you through everything. The demos do not walk you through everything. They give you all the demo code for you to look at. So you can see that there's some really cool ones that they've built in here. The Angry Cats physics demo, the Angry Cats space demo. You can see the completed tutorials in here as well. So in the tutorial section, they're starters, and in the end here, or in the demos here, is the completed versions of them. And there's a bunch in here as well that you can pick around and see how they've accomplished something, Veg Ninja, etc. So beyond those two, you can see there's news here and licenses here. So what we want to do to get started here is to create a brand new game. So we're going to click new here, and we're going to name this sample game. Very clever, I know. Don't try to steal the name of my game. It's called sample game. We're just going to use this to poke around the IDE. So let's go ahead and click create. And let's have this pop up. I'm going to stretch this out just a bit so you can see more of it. And the first thing you'll notice is mine most likely looks different than yours. So yours is probably a very dark theme. And as you can tell, mine's light. You can see that everything here and here is all white. These are yellow folders. Yours are darker and a different color. And so I'm going to show you how I change that. And it's a good excuse to pop into preferences. So if I go to File and Preferences, you'll see that down on the General tab, down on the bottom, there's different skins that you can select. I chose GameMaker 8, and it gave me this theme. And so if you prefer the look and feel of that, it's total preference. It's up to you. You can choose that, click OK, and you'll have to restart to get that. Now, while we're in here, I'm going to show you around a couple tabs that I feel are important. We're not going to touch everything in here. Feel free to look around and see what's available to you. I'm going to first click on the Editors tab. Now, if you are wanting to use different editors and not the default stuff that's inside GameMaker for, say, sounds or images, you can choose that here. For example, one of the things we're showing you later today is how to use Inkscape as part of your experience and part of creating assets, and you can link that in here. You can see Audacity, I think we're going to talk about as well. You can use to edit sound as well. All that's done here. In the next section, on the web server tab, this is where you'd set up information for utilizing or exporting to HTML5, and you could set up a web server to point to when you want to test your HTML5 export for GameMaker. Windows 8 is an important tab. Now, not only do you need Windows 8 installed and to be developing on Windows 8 to be able to export to Windows 8, but you also need Visual Studio Express for Windows applications installed, and you need to run it at least once, meaning you have to create some sort of sample app and run the IDE once, because what happens when you do that is it will prompt you to create a developer license. Now, the developer license is free, but that needs to be installed on the machine for you to get this SDK past verification here. You'll notice it's kind of blacked out, but you'll notice that this points to the Windows 8 SDK tools. Same thing for Windows Phone as well. So if you wanted to export this to Windows Phone, the SDK for Windows Phone would need to be installed on the machine. And like I said, there's a lot of other preferences in here. Feel free to look in here, jump around and find stuff that may be important for you to change, just to make you more comfortable in creating a game in GameMaker. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And the next thing we're going to look at is right on the top of the window. And let me actually move this back so we have the full screen again. And I'm going to stretch this down again just so we have full screen. And it's this drop down right here. So this is the target drop down. So one of the great things about the Yo-Yo Games GameMaker framework is that you can build your game once and then deploy it to many different platforms. Now you see the default here is Windows, but that's Windows as in desktop Windows type of game. And we're going to be building games for Windows 8. So you would want to choose either Windows 8 JavaScript or Windows 8 Native. Now these come with the free version of GameMaker Studio. And so you don't need to purchase anything additional. You can download the free version of GameMaker Studio, and you're able to publish Windows 8 games to the marketplace utilizing this. Now you'll see and notice in mine that I have a bunch of exports in here, and again, that's a great way to be able to take what you've done and put it in many different places that people can see. And you could either get the master collection to get all these, or you can purchase things individually. For example, Windows Phone is in here as well, so if you want to build a game for Windows Phone, you could purchase that module and you'll be able to export to that. Now the last thing I'll show you while I'm in here, in this drop down anyway, is this Windows part. So while you can build a game in Windows 8, there's some very specific debugging tools that are only available when you choose Windows. So you'll see over here when you run your game, when you set it up and you start playing with the game and run the game, you do that with the green arrow here. But if you want to run in debug mode gives you some extra windows for you to track variables and track other stuff while your game is running, to get really down to a very minute detail level of what's going on in the game. And to do that, you'd have to do that in Windows mode because it's not yet available in the Windows 8 mode. So I wanted to make sure I pointed that out so you're aware of that. Now another thing I'll point out is there's many different ways to create different stuff in GameMaker Studio. Like a lot of IDEs, there's keystrokes, there's right clicks, there's icons to create it. For example, you'll see right here, I can create a sprite by clicking on this. I can create a sound, I can create a background, I can create a path, etc. I can do the same thing by right-clicking. I can create a sprite, I can create a sound, I can create a background, I can create a path. It doesn't matter which way you use it to create that stuff. It can be done either way. So let's kind of look at what we find here on the left. So this is where you're going to be spending most of your time over here when you start creating your game. And we're going to play with this stuff as we build the platformer, but just to give you a quick overview, sprites is where all your images are going to reside. So your characters or your blocks, your platforms, your enemies, your bullets, your coins, whatever you're building your game is going to be in here. And Brett's going to do a great session on building those, and then I'm going to show you how to bring them into GameMaker. Sounds as well. So when your bullet fires, what's your sound that you're going to create? That's going to go in the sound folder. And backgrounds, same thing. Backgrounds are really important, I personally believe. I think a background can make or break how cool and exciting a game is. It really adds that one little extra pop to the visual of a game to have a cool background. Path is something that allows you to let a character walk in a certain way and follow a certain path in a game. Scripts, as we told you before, there's two levels, and again, I love this about GameMaker. If you've never written a game before, you're going to be able to write a game today using the drag and drop stuff. There's some stuff you can write in scripts, meaning that you want to actually write some GameMaker language code to accomplish certain tasks in the game, like the Windows 8 functionality can only be done using code. And scripts for that, the scripts that we would maybe call, would be in this folder. You can change fonts in your games for maybe your title screen or your end screen, or the scores that you have on there. You can import and use fonts, and they would go in this folder. Timelines, on the other hand, allow you to make things happen at certain times during your game, and they would go in the timelines folder. Objects is where you're going to be spending most of your time. So objects are the things that collide together, the things that use sprites, the things that interact. Objects are what your blocks are going to be, what your characters are going to be, what your villains are going to be, what your bullets are going to be. So you'll spend a lot of time and you get really used to objects. Rooms, of course, is where you're going to build the world that your characters play in. And you can have multiple rooms, and we'll show you how to build at least one room in the platform. And then we have some great samples that allow you to see multiple room games, because you're going to want to be able to engage people, have as many rooms as possible to keep them playing your game longer and longer and enjoying it as long as they can. We have some advanced stuff, included files and extensions that we're probably not going to get to today, but that's another thing that shows you that beautiful curve up from beginner to more of an expert, where you can start playing with extra stuff and included files and extensions. And then finally, I'm going to show you the global game settings. Now, if I open up global game settings and move this up here just slightly. Now, once again, we're not going to look at every single item and on every single tab. We're just going to hit on the important aspects of this, things you need to know while you're developing your game. So if we click on the Windows 8 tab, you'll notice that on the General tab, we have things that make sense. The splash screen. So this is the screen that you'll want to update. This is what pops up before your game pops up. The logos for it, you can see over here as well as stuff for your tiles, your small and your large tiles. All of that can be changed here. You also will have different orientations that you can choose. So if your game does not look good in portrait and you don't want it to be run in portrait, make sure you uncheck that. If you only want it run in landscape and you don't even want it landscape flipped, you can choose that here. Use internet is important. If for any reason your game needs to connect to the internet, you need to make sure this is checked. Now, that could be a lot of different reasons. If you're using advertising, you need to use internet. If you're looking or saving to leaderboards, you need to use internet. This is also important with something we're going to talk about later with the Windows 8 features and the privacy policy. If you use internet, you need a privacy policy, and we're going to show you how to set that up. But make sure for a lot of these things, if you're going to be utilizing them, you check to use internet if you'd like to use internet. In addition, you can see your display name, your package name, etc. And there's also a graphics tab and installation tab. The installation tab is a place where you'll utilize when you're actually uploading your game to the marketplace. This is where you'll grab some information that you'll need, the certificate that you'll need to upload your game to the store. And like many of the things that we're covering today, there will be a documentation on that resources tab that walk you through submitting your application to the store after you have it built, and so you'll be utilizing that tab there. So let's go ahead and close this, which then concludes our walkthrough, at least a very simple walkthrough of the IDE itself. So let me go ahead and bring up PowerPoint so we can see what's coming next. So that was the loop around the IDE. I hope you enjoyed it and was informative to you. Coming up next, though, we're going to start building our first platformer. So we're going to take what we learned about the IDE and just dive right in and have some fun with it. In this section, I'm going to be playing with very simplistic assets and stick figures and stuff, and really showing you some of the mechanics you can play with while you're building a game in Game Maker. Make sure first, thanks for attending this first session, and make sure if you have any questions, we're here to help you. We're here to help you all day and all this week, but ask your questions in the Q&A and make sure they get answered. We're here to bring you to the point where you can build your own game and hopefully have fun doing it. So we'll see you next session.